He was undoubtedly one of the best military tacticians of all time, but what were Napoleon's greatest ever victories on the battlefield? Where else to start other than Austerlitz? It's winter 1805, and after an invasion of Britain is considered too risky, Napoleon sets his sights on the mighty Austrian and Russian Empires who stood in his way with a mammoth coalition of 85,000 men. Napoleon's tactic was to fool the enemy into believing he had a weak right flank as he drew the enemy regiments into a trap before launching head-on into the soft centre of the Austrians and Russians with his formidable Imperial Guard. The Grand Army were prepared to fight tooth and nail for their emperor, but on the other side, Alexander I and Francis II made a series of tactical blunders which turned the tide of the battle. Their retreat onto a frozen river caused even more deaths, and they were roundly defeated. The Third Coalition was in ruins, and now Britain stood alone against Napoleon. Prior to Austerlitz was the Ulm campaign, which is still considered by many to be one of the greatest strategic victories of all time. Backed by the Bavarian allies, Napoleon sent the Holy Roman Empire crashing down in a scintillating move. Utilising some expert manoeuvres and marching 500 miles in just 40 days, an Austrian army of 27,000 men was completely captured. Only 500 of the 80,000 French soldiers died, and the road to Austerlitz was now open. Fast forward to 1807, and Napoleon is advancing ever more towards Russia. After a stalemate at the Battle of Eylau, the French made their superior numbers count as the Russians lost over 40% of its soldiers at the Battle of Friedland. The victory ended the war of the Fourth Coalition, and the French Empire reached what would be its most powerful era. After Austerlitz, Prussia changed its allegiances and turned against France. In the Battle of Jena-Auerstedt, they were left to a ruinous decision, as the decisive French victory meant Prussia would fall into French hands until 1812. The first battle, Jena, was nearly disastrous for the French, as Marshal Michel Ney made a huge error, and it was left for Napoleon to bail him and his unit out of the firing line. Last but not least, we had the Battle of Marengo. This battle was different from the rest of this rundown, as it was in Italy and was much earlier, in the summer of 1800. The French faced off against the Austrians in a conflict that would drive the opposition out of the Italian peninsula. Napoleon's men were up against it and were initially in trouble and about to be surrounded. The arrival of the Emperor onto the battlefield at 3 PM galvanised the troops, but it still wasn't enough to win the battle. The critical blow to the Austrians came from the bravery and talent of Napoleon's generals, especially Kellerman and Desai, who managed to push the Austrians back. So there you have it, the greatest victories orchestrated by that not-so-little mastermind, Napoleon. Are there any key victories we haven't included? The Battle of Borodino, Toulon, maybe even Dresden? If so, let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.